also a good way of coping. Relaxation, again, connecting to Pamela's talk, relaxation is specifically relaxation in a way that stimulates your five senses. So that might be drinking your favorite cup of tea or coffee so that you can feel the warmth, smell the scent, taste the flavor. When you stimulate your five senses, you're really engaging your full mind and body. Relax with something that relaxes your muscles. So I know those hot pads that you can heat up in the microwave, those are really good. Some of them have lavender in them, so it's stimulating your sense of smell, it's relaxing, it's warm, especially for days like this. Or do something that's comforting and soothing to you. That might be just maybe a glass of red wine, watching something that's comforting to you, maybe on the phone with some family members, something that helps you to feel comforted. That's a good way of relaxing. Next is meditation, whether for you that means prayer, whether for you that means yoga, or whether for you that means mindfulness. Meditation is a way of increasing our mental awareness and bringing us almost to a transcending our current mental and physical suffering into a different state of being that actually increases our wellness. The next one is actually one of the easiest ways of coping is to breathe. Just take a deep, long breath. Now, I know that a lot of folks talk about deep breathing, but actually there's three types of breathing, and they're used for different reasons and for different purposes. Deep breathing, in which your inhale and your exhale is the same length. So maybe for a count of 4. That same length in and same length out, that kind of deep breathing is helpful to stabilize. If you're feeling a sense of not being in control, you're feeling overwhelmed, your heart rate is irregular, your breathing is irregular, that kind of breathing is most helpful to stabilize. If you need to get a sense of stabilization, that deep breathing, same length in, same length out, is helpful. If you're feeling kind of low energy, or maybe even kind of cold in your body, having a longer inhale is energizing and it warms the body. So that energizes the body, gives you energy, it warms up your body. If you're feeling kind of down, low energy, low motivation, that kind of deep breathing is most helpful. But if you're trying to do is calm down, what I encourage you is to have a longer exhale. It looks like this. A longer exhale actually communicates from your body to your brain that you're not in a state of danger, that you do not need energy to fight, flight, freeze, that you are ready for relaxation. There is not a lot of ways we can tell our brain what to do. Breathing is one way we can communicate to our brain. So a longer exhale is what is most calming and relaxing to the body. So if you're feeling nervous or scared, that is the kind of breathing I recommend, longer exhales. I know I'm running short on time, so I'm going to continue here. I'm going to try to move my cameras here so that I can see my slide. Coping with your body is also extremely helpful. Again, connecting back to Pamela, anything that moves your body is going to be so helpful for aging well, for healthy coping, for improving mental and physical wellness. Any activity that raises your heart rate, that can look a lot of different ways. Of course, cardio is one way, but any sort of weightlifting, it doesn't have to be heavy weightlifting. Anything that pushes you even a little bit outside your comfort zone is going to increase your heart rate. Yoga can increase your heart rate. A brisk walk can increase your heart rate. Any sort of activity, gardening can increase your heart rate if you're having to get up and down a lot. Anything that increases your heart rate is a good way of coping, because what it does is that when your heart rate increases, in a sense, it burns off the kinds of stress hormones that your brain releases when you're stressed. When you're stressed out, the brain releases cortisol and adrenaline.
Yes.
And that is good in the moment when you're trying to manage a current acute stressor, but over a long period of time, that actually wears down your immune system and it makes you more susceptible to illness. So that when you get sick, you're more likely to get sick more often and stay sick longer. So increasing your heart rate burns off adrenaline and it burns off cortisol, which is good for your mental and your physical health. Now, I know that the recommended amount of exercise typically is 60 minutes daily, but actually new research in the field of psychology and the medicine is that as little as 7 minutes of exercise is good. That with 7 minutes of exercise, you are already getting the physical and mental benefits of exercise. 7 minutes. Now, of course, if you exercise longer, you get more benefits. The longer you exercise, up to an hour, the better. The more you move, the better. But as little as 7 minutes, you can already begin to get the beneficial effects of exercise. We can all strive for at least 7 minutes. And any practice that helps you to notice your body. And if you notice your body, notice it without judgment. Our bodies have changed with COVID. Many of us have been less active. And so that's really impacted the shape and size of our body. And that's okay. That's okay. Bodies change naturally as we age, as our level of activity changes, and as our lifestyle changes. So notice your body with kindness. Next, catharsis. It is okay to just let yourself cry if you need to cry. And if you need to talk out your emotions, perhaps you're angry, perhaps you're happy, perhaps you're hopeful or scared, talking it out, getting yourself an opportunity to release what you're experiencing is a powerful way of coping that is absolutely free, unless you are talking to a therapist, in which is in case it's not free. But talking with each other, even the about 15 minutes when many of you logged into this meeting, and you were all just sharing your shirts with each other, sharing your background, sharing your location. That is incredibly healing. Talking, even if it's not about your stressor, is powerful. Now, if you're not someone who's a talker, write about your experiences. But really anything that lets you experience release. So whether that's singing, dancing, playing, any of those can provide you a sense of catharsis. And lastly, connection. Pamela spoke about this as well. Connection is incredibly powerful. There has been research on prevention of illnesses that are neurocognitive. So Alzheimer's, dementia, other illnesses like that. And whereas before we used to think doing things like crossword puzzles were helpful to prevent those kinds of neurocognitive diseases, the newest research on that says, actually, that's helpful. You should do that if you like that, if it brings you joy. But what's actually more powerful than that is connection. Connection is as healthy for your brain and body as eating well, as sleeping enough, and as exercising. Connection is right up there with all of those things. So I encourage you to reach out and offer others support, and also ask for support when you need it. Both are equally helpful. Giving people support is actually a helpful distraction. Sometimes it gives us a distraction from our own struggles and our own suffering. And asking for support when you need it is incredibly powerful as well. And if you find that you're doing all of these coping skills, and I will vouch, I do all of these myself, and I would say that I am coping well with COVID. Surprised, I didn't think that I would survive a pandemic doing as well as I am, but I practice all of these. I have many ways of integrating these in my life, and I can say that they have been extremely helpful for me. And if you're doing these and you still feel like you're struggling, then what I encourage you to do is seek mental health support, either through your insurance provider or through a psychology database, either Psychology Today, or our website at the Counseling Center has a lot of different databases based on specialty area. What's helpful to go through insurance is that you'll know your insurance provider will cover it, which is helpful. The drawback is they'll often give you a 5 to 10 page list of therapists, and you don't know what they specialize in. So it can be a bit of a challenge picking. The benefit of Psychology Today is you can pick based on your insurance, based on what you want to work on, and any other characteristic of the therapist you want. For example, for me, I wanted to work with a bilingual therapist because my first language is Spanish. And I was, this year I wanted to work on some things around my family that have come up. And so I wanted someone who specialized in family systems. So understanding how families work together. And psychology today was extremely helpful for me because you can really sort of pick who you want to work with. You can get to see a picture of them, they describe themselves and get a little sense of what they're like. I will say most therapists at this time are doing therapy via Zoom. That's how I'm doing therapy. And therapists can only work within the state they're licensed. And so if you are a resident of California, but are currently in Texas, you will probably have to work with a therapist who is in Texas. If you are a resident of California, but you are in Mexico, you will have to work with a therapist in Mexico. So that might limit your ability to use your insurance because we can only practice in a state we're licensed in. And we have to be in a state that the client is currently living in or residing in. Wherever you are, that's where the therapist needs to be as well. And I want to end with just a quote by Cesar Chavez. We draw our strength from the very despair in which we are forced to live. We shall endure, and indeed, I believe we shall.
Thank you so much, Pam Smith. Thank you so much, Dr. Lim. Many of the comments were that you were validating what certain people are doing, so they felt like, oh, I'm okay because Dr. Lim mentioned, doing that. We appreciate so much the help that both of you have given us in self-care during COVID, encouraging us for these what we hope are the last few months. And we can't thank you enough, both of you, for taking the time to share your expertise with us. Thank you so much.